Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Supercartribe News. Today we are here in sunny Riyadh, and the temperature is 43 degrees, and it's 10:15 in the morning. So, I think we're going to be hitting 47, 48 degrees today, but we'll see. But I'm just out and about, so I thought I'd bring you up to date with the latest news happenings in the world of supercars. So first up, there is a new car from Lamborghini, and it's called the Lamborghini Sián Roadster. And if you're familiar with the name and perhaps familiar with the car, it's because they came out with a coupe version, and now they've come out with a roofless roadster version. Now the car is absolutely beautiful. It really is spectacular. I don't think there's a bad angle on this car. Really, they've outdone themselves with this one. It looks very futuristic, and they've done a fantastic job on the design of the car. But it's not just the design, because there's some really special features about the car. So first of all, the car comes with a V12 engine, not a V8 or a V10, but a V12, which is fantastic. And also it's a hybrid as well. So not only do you get the V12 sound, but you also get the benefits of having a hybrid engine included as well. So that's fantastic. From a technological point of view, it's absolutely great. It's got 819 horsepower, which, when you think about it, in a roadster, that's just going to be phenomenal. I mean, you consider that the Bugatti Veyron, for example, had 1,000 horsepower when it came out. The Chiron's obviously taken that on further. But you look at what else is in this particular sector, what other roadsters there are out there, or what other convertibles there are. For an open top, 819 horsepower is more than enough. Plenty to to entertain you with there. 0 to 60 time is a spectacular 2.9 seconds as well. 0 to 62 or 100 kilometers an hour, which is, that's kind of like where it needs to be, sub 3 seconds, and they've done a great job on achieving that, and a top speed of 217 miles per hour, which again, phenomenal. You can imagine, hitting the autobahn at 217 miles per hour with the roof open, and of course you can't close the roof because it's a roadster. Sounds like a phenomenal car. Now, if you want to buy one, I'm afraid you can't, because they are all sold out. They are being produced in limited numbers, and there's only 19 in total that are being made, and they're all sold out, so you can't even put your name down for one, even if you wanted to. But it certainly sounds like a fantastic car, and looking forward to seeing this one in the flesh. Now, if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our channel. We are a fairly new channel, but we are looking to produce a lot of content, so we'd love to have you along for the ride. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Moving on to the next bit of news. So next up, we've got news out of Dubai. If you were a fraudster, scam artist, and you sort of scammed money of people by the sort of tens of millions of dollars worth, you probably would want to keep it a little bit on the low that you sort of have all this wealth. Well, unfortunately for a bunch of Nigerian scam artists, they decided to flaunt their wealth and their cars on Instagram, and they got busted. So they were living the high life in Dubai, living in Versace Towers, I think it was, and it's not cheap to live there, as you can imagine. They just had recently extended their lease on the property, and they had a bunch of cars which we would all be envious of. So things like Rolls Royce, Black Badge, Lamborghini, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, that sort of thing. And the police finally caught up with them. They probably knew where to find them, because they'd sort of Instagrammed their apartments and things like that. And as a result, they got busted, and they're now in jail. They confiscated a whole load of cars and cash, but it's great that they caught them. I think the American, the US authorities were in on it as well. So they were working with the authorities in Dubai to to catch these guys. So one of the guys, his nickname or handle was Hush Puppy, commonly referred to as Hush. But I guess right now he's probably somebody's puppy. So crime does not pay, guys. Do it the legal way. Next up, we have news from Aston Martin, and it's one of those brands that is just uber cool. Partly because of the cars, and partly because it's been, I guess, tied to the James Bond brand now. And although BMW kind of muscled in for a little bit of time in between, I don't think the fans really appreciated that. And James Bond being a British spy, he needs to have a British sports car, and Aston Martin fits the bill perfectly. It's the gentleman's sports car. It's not for the lout, it's for the gentleman. Anyhow, so if you've always wanted to play James Bond, and you need to have the tools to go with it, so Aston Martin have released a DB5, or they're releasing 25 DB5. It's called a continuation version of the DB5, and the car has a lot of the features from the car that you saw in the Bond movie, which is just, I mean, how cool is this, right? So some of the things that it has is revolving number plates front and rear, because obviously that's what James Bond had in his movie car. So the continuation version has to have that as well. Rear oil slick delivery system, which is simulated, so it doesn't actually release the oil onto the road to the car behind you, but there's a simulation of that which takes place. Rear smokescreen delivery system, simulated tyre slashers. I mean, how many times have you wanted to slash the tyre of the guy in the car next to you? Now you can with this Aston Martin. Bullet resistant rear shield, twin front machine guns. I don't think it actually fires bullets, but that'd be so cool if it did. And front and rear battery rams, because when you've got serious road rage, you need to ram the car in front and behind you. For British spies, they probably have the real thing for when they're trying to tackle the bad guys. But this is such a cool idea. Sadly, I guess sadly you can't use these features on the road, and the features are there for simulation only, and they're not the real deal. So the machine guns won't fire bullets, although there are some occasions when you probably want to. But anyhow, we're not going to go into that. So such a great concept of an idea, and I guess the ultimate Aston Martin James Bond movie buffs choice of wheels, really. So well done Aston Martin for producing that. Next up, we've got news from Bentley, who have just released images of their new Bentley Bentayga. Now, the Bentayga has been out for a few years, and when it was initially launched as a concept, it got a lot of stick. People didn't like the front end in particular, and the sort of newer version was a little bit toned down. And but the overall concept was really, really liked. I mean, it was something that customers wanted. They wanted a luxury SUV, and so they ploughed on through the criticism, and they released the car, and it's actually been a huge success. So it's no surprise now that Bentley have launched a version 2, a Mark II version of the Bentayga, and I guess let me cover this in two parts. So first of all, the changes do look really, really good. The front end gets a redesign, the back end gets a redesign, and the interior has the luxury element of that has been stepped up as well. And all in all, I think that they've done a good job in the redesign of the car. But the criticism that I will make is overall the car still looks the same, and there's nothing particularly wrong with the car now, but you've got the Aston Martin SUV, which is about to hit the streets, and that looks on a different level. I mean, it really, really, it for me sets the benchmark in the sort of the luxury SUV, the sporty SUV sector. And Bentley is a sporting brand, remember, so it's not just catering for the luxury, it's catering for the sporty sector as well. And the Lamborghini looks great as well, but I think between all of the offerings at the moment, the Aston Martin looks fantastic. And part of that is, not just the overall sort of look of it, but the design, the overall design. The way the rear roof line comes down at the back on the Aston Martin. The Bentley still looks a little bit, it hasn't really moved on enough, I feel. And I think Bentley have missed the market. And the reason why I say this is I don't know if I'll be able to find the image, but I remember looking at some images of a sort of a rendering of what the new Bentayga might look like. And it really, the image was not spot on. There were clear differences to what was actually finally released. But the roof line was quite different, and it really transformed the look of the car, really improved it. And I think Bentley have kind of missed the mark a little bit over here, by having that sort of same overall shape. I mean, from the side, it could well be the old model. It's only when you look at the front and the back that you really see the differences, particularly with the lights and things like that. So overall, I think it's going to be a success. I think it will be, because particularly over here in the Middle East, where it's really, you see so many on the road, because it is so practical. SUVs are so practical over here. So despite all the lockdown situation, somehow the Ferrari spotters have still managed to make it over to Maranello and film what's going on over there, which is great for us because they're sending us details of what cars are actually being tested. So there seems to be a sort of a super hyped up version of the 599, the 812 Superfast. So it probably is likely that we're likely to see a 812 Superfast GTO version, a sort of hyped up road version of that car. And it's not surprising really, because if you look back at it, the F12 Berlinetta had the F12 TDF. Before that we had the 599 GTO, which was the souped up version of the 599 GTB, and they've all been hugely successful cars. So I guess it was always on the cards, and now it's likely that this is what they're testing over there, and this is going to be coming out very, very shortly. So we'll expect to see more details on that later this year. There's also a second car which is being tested over there, which is based what it looks like on a 488, and also seems to be a hybrid car. So the 488s and the current F8 Tributo, they don't come as hybrid models, they come as V8 turbos. But this particular car seems to be a hybrid car, and have an electric motor as well. So we reckon that it's probably going to be what they're testing is a V6 hybrid car, which will come in the future. And that seems to be the way that things are going. Everything is coming out as hybrid models. The SF90 Stradale, that's a hybrid model, and that is coming out later this year as well. But there's something that they're testing in the background, and we reckon it's probably a V6 with a hybrid engine as well, hybrid motor as well. So that should be quite interesting. But we presume it's going to come out as part of the F8 Tributo, possibly as a Dino, a sort of slightly lower model to the F8, which will be quite interesting. So watch the space on that one. So there's been a few Ferrari themed movies over the years. Probably the most famous one is probably which was probably inadvertently actually, is the Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is a great movie. If you haven't seen it, get out of the hole you're living in and watch that film. But there's other ones more recently, Ferrari versus Ford, for example, and they've all done really well. But one topic that's never been covered is the life of Enzo Ferrari himself, the man who started up Ferrari. And we've just recently actually written a really long article on Enzo, so I'll put a link to that below as well. But what I was going to talk about was there seems to be rumours that there's a movie going to be coming out about Enzo Ferrari, and who's going to play Enzo? Hugh Jackman, which I think personally he's going to do a great job. I mean, if you'd said to me Australian playing an Italian, I would have thought, forget it, it's not going to work. But Hugh Jackman's such a great actor that I think he could pull it off. So it's going to be really interesting when that comes out. At the moment, it's rumours; it hasn't been confirmed. But watch this space because it could well turn into reality, and then that will be a great movie when it comes out. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Supercar News. If you have, please give us a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. We have weekly content coming out on our YouTube channel as well now, so definitely subscribe and also pass it around as well. A lot of people don't know we're here, and they may well enjoy this content as well. So do feel free to share our videos. Once again, thanks very much. Hope you've enjoyed it, and see you in the next episode.